The Lowrider ST fairing versus the Retro Fxrt fairing. Let's talk about it. Alright, what's going on YouTube? FXCLS Brooklyn is back in the building. So I did a video before talking about the differences between these two fairings, which is predominantly what you're seeing in terms of a performance Dyna or a performance Softail fixed fairing. And I did the previous video just riding around talking about it, but I figured it might be really helpful to do the video having the bikes side by side just so you could kind of see some of the differences, right? So there you go, like front facing. You know, as I said in the previous video, the biggest difference you're probably going to see off the bat with these two fairings is the Retro RT fairing is definitely significantly bigger than the ST fairing, right? So what that means is, you know, you're definitely going to get a significant amount more wind deflection from the traditional RT fairing for sure, right? You could just see like there's a lot there, like that's a big presence. Whereas with the Lowrider ST fairing, you have more of a tapered look, you have more of a refined look, right? So you got this kind of going on, right? And that's kind of what we're looking like behind both fairings. You also have it vented, right? So that also makes a difference in terms of what you're going to get in terms of wind deflection. Obviously, they are very different aesthetically, which I actually really like. So I like the look of both of them. I think they both have their own individual styling points that make them both special in their own ways. In terms of performance, right? So if you're someone that's looking to get the most amount of wind deflection possible, also if you're someone that's like really big or really tall, then maybe, you know, you're gonna consider the Retro RT fairing just for the fact that you're gonna get more wind deflection. For me personally, you know, I'm 155, 5'7", right? And the ST fairing is actually the perfect amount of wind deflection. There's times where the Retro RT fairing, especially in the summer, is actually too much wind deflection, even with the lowers, where if it's like a heat wave, I'm getting really hot, right? The ST fairing, I also find, is cutting through the wind in a more kind of dynamic and a more kind of knife through butter way than the RT fairing. Not that the RT fairing doesn't do great, you'll stack highway miles all day, but there's something noticeably different aerodynamically about the ST fairing that makes me just want to rip highway miles on this thing all day. And then, you know, the big one of the big differences here is the ST fairing is significantly lighter than the traditional RT fairing. So that means when you're in a tight spot, whether you're ripping Brooklyn miles or whether you're doing some tight twisties, that's where the ST fairing also really shines off the highway miles. Because I find that you could really throw it around a lot harder and a lot quicker. It's definitely more nimble than a Retro RT fairing would be. Not that a Retro RT fairing is going to have any issues in the twisties, it doesn't, but I will tell you that having the lightness of the ST fairing, you're going to be able to maneuver that much better. And yeah, like that's probably the biggest difference I feel, is I really do feel the weight. Like the Harley Davidson did their homework, you know, the engineers over there definitely took their time to design something special. I've put in enough miles on both right now to kind of give you that assessment. And yeah, you know, like I said, I love my Retro RT fairing just for the classic styling points and the aesthetics, right? But if we are talking about performance, you know, for my height, and, you know, for my body demographic, I'm definitely, you know, gonna say that the ST fairing actually is better performance-wise. And again, that's thinking about highway miles, that's thinking about twisties, that's thinking about all those different conditions, right? But that's my assessment, right? They both will get you plenty of highway miles. Like I said, they're both gonna perform great, but aesthetically, they're both completely different. The other elephant in the room is, well, if you buy a Lowrider ST, this bike as is coming in at about 22K. Whereas if you go to install one of these Retro RT fairings, you're going to be dropping some money, man. Like if you look at any of the competitors that are selling these things, number one, they're expensive. Number two, you got to get them painted. And then number three, it's a pain in the you-know-what to get these things installed. Whereas, you know, Harley Davidson is offering it in this pretty tight package here where this particular fairing was designed for this frame. And look, man, you know, no one's going to do it better than the factory themselves. So that's kind of your pros and your cons of each. Either way you go, like I said, it's going to allow you to really put in the miles. It's going to allow you to do the bike trips like a pro, and it's going to really turn your bike into a real mile eater. But, you know, like I said, ideally, I'm in a good world right now because I have access to both, right? But if I were to hop on one and like have it be the Swiss Army fairing, like the best in any situation, then it's going to go to the Lowrider ST fairing. And anyone who's ridden both is probably going to agree with me on that. Unless, like I said, you're super tall or you're just a bigger guy and you want that extra wind deflection, then that's a different thing. But I'm blown away by the fairing that they came up with, man. And I can't wait to put more miles on this thing. So that's my thoughts on it. You know, a bunch of you have asked about it, so I figured I would cover it explicitly. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. As always, I'll do my best to answer. And on that, keep that wind off you, whether you're running a traditional RT or you're running that ST fairing. Stay safe, stay low. And on that, FXTLS Brooklyn is out.